Oh, hey friends. Oh my gosh, look where we are, behind the scenes of our next filming of Coffee with Kim. I'm so excited you're here. And if you thought the previous seasons were great, just wait. You're not going to believe who's stopping by for coffee.
And I've got the joy deep down in my heart. I'm waking up with your love from the start. I'm chasing the rainbow through the rain. I know it's gonna be a beautiful day
of hope and healing. Hello everyone and welcome back to Coffee, conversations of friends of faith to encourage and equip. I'm Kim Crable, so happy to have you with me today. Well, at age 11, already the veteran of multiple medical procedures for heart defects, Brandon Phillips had a big wish to meet one of the stars of his favorite TV show, Growing Pains. He longed for the home life depicted on the show and dreamed of meeting Jeremy Miller, the actor who portrayed Ben Seaver. Starlight Children's Foundation granted Brandon's wish, which set both Brandon and Jeremy on a decades-long, life-changing trajectory. It's an amazing story of friendship that we can learn from and be inspired by. And we can, because right after this short break, both Brandon and Jeremy will be joining us right here. We'll be right back.
Kim Crable knows all about hidden shame and regret. From the time she experienced a life-altering trauma at age 4, Kim became an expert in hiding her hurt and confusion. The trick she discovered was to sing a little louder in church and to smile a little wider with friends. In her transparent story, Burdens to Blessings, Kim invites you along the journey from shame and sadness towards healing and hope. In the process, you'll encounter the upside-down truth that God uses you because of your hurt and uncertainty. Order your copy of Burdens to Blessings right away at Amazon.com or simply go to www.kimcrable.org and click on the Shop button. Discover the confidence and courage to be you again, and discover the power of your story. Along the way, you'll help other hurting people change their burdens to blessings.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Coffee. Oh my goodness, you are going to love today's show. You know, the number one ailment facing America today, according to a Harvard study, is loneliness. We're longing for friendships and we're longing to be understood and to have someone understand us. Well, today we have a story of just that, a true friendship. And I'm so delighted to have you, Brandon, and you, Jeremy, join us today. Thank you.
Thank you for having us on, Kim.
So glad to be here with you.
It's so delighted. We've talked so many times on Zoom and different things. To be able to see you in person is a delight. And especially when I hold this book that, you know, tells so much about your friendship and just how God orchestrated so many things. So let's get busy and talk about it. Let's talk about how it started. Brandon, you were born with some heart issues, correct?
Yeah, I was born with tetralogy of Fallot. It's a congenital heart defect that causes babies to be blue. I had my first open heart surgery when I was around 2 years of age, and then had some heart caths and different procedures kind of growing up.
So is that why you're a cardiologist today?
It is. I love my pediatric cardiologist so much that I wanted to be a pediatric cardiologist just like him.
Oh.
So I used to use my time going to the doctor to ask him what was the path to do that.
Oh my goodness. Okay, tell us about Starlight. Tell us how that came to be.
So Starlight Children's Foundation was an organization that granted wishes to kids that were not only terminally ill, but also seriously ill or chronically ill. And I saw one of their commercials on TV, and I just called the organization and said, hey, I'm interested in this. And like, oh, we need to talk to your mom, but you probably qualify. And they asked me if I wanted to go anywhere, have anything, or meet anyone, what would I want? So I had to give them something from each list, but Jeremy was who I wanted to meet, because I really liked his character on the TV show. I wanted a family like his character had on the show, because I was missing some of those things. My mom worked as a prison guard. I was home alone often, and I really just wanted to share the laughter and love that I got to see on Growing Pains.
Oh my goodness, so it was granted?
It was granted.
And you got to meet your idol at that time. So what did that feel like? Because you were the younger brother on the show. I have two boys. The younger brother sometimes gets hidden in all the stuff.
Well,
So what did that mean to you, Jeremy?
Brandon was the only Wish kid, and we had many that came through Starlight or through Make-A-Wish. He was the only one that came to meet me. Everyone else, you know, Kirk was the big star of the show. He was the heartthrob. So it was always they wanted to meet Kirk, or they just wanted to come see the show, which we always loved. It was always special every time. But Brandon was the one person who wanted to just come to meet me. And that was confusing to me at the time. I didn't get it. But I set out, I was determined to make sure he had the best day he possibly could.
And tell us about that. What happened?
Well, they brought Brandon in, and you got a limo in, right?
Right.
Yeah. So they brought him in, and I was right there to meet him when he pulled up, and he got out of the car, and we started talking. And Brandon likes to talk about it. One of the first things I actually asked him was, "Where do you go to church?"
Oh.
And what Jeremy didn't know at the time is I was praying, God, if you love me, show me that you love me. And for me to come to the set and that be one of the very first things he asked, it was like, oh my goodness. It was just a God moment.
Yes, it was a defining moment, wasn't it?
It was.
Yes.
So yeah, we were kids.
Yeah.
You know, I knew because of whatever ailments he was dealing with, all I knew was he had a heart condition. They never gave us much info about what the kids were dealing with. I just set out, you know, we're gonna be kids, we're gonna ride bikes, we're gonna, you know, we borrowed a few golf carts from the Grips and drove all around the lot and jumped out of the Friday the 13th barn that was on the lot, and we just had fun being kids.
Yeah. And what did that mean to you?
It meant the world to me. I didn't get to do a lot of things with friends back home. My mom was pretty protective of me being a heart kid. And, you know, I had just had that heart cath procedure that I got to watch about 3 weeks before I met Jeremy. So I'm sure Mom would have been very upset if she knew we were jumping out of barns and having all kinds of fun.
Did you know that you just had that procedure?
I did not know he was recently off the procedure. I'm glad I didn't, because I might have been more careful and we wouldn't have, you know, I just wanted him to get to be a normal kid with me for a while.
Right.
Because that was part of what, I mean, I loved the process of filming and being on set, but we had a playground all to ourselves on that lot. And to get to share that with him was just awesome.
So tell us then what developed. I mean, this is a few years after that. So tell us what happened at that moment that created this friendship that God has used in so many ways. I mean, you talk about that things happen and they weren't really coincidental, that maybe the world would say was. Give us some examples of those.
Well, you know, Jeremy and I kept in touch after the show, just kind of by writing back and forth, and we lost contact with each other once Growing Pains went off the air. There was a period from 1992 up until 2004 where we had completely lost contact with each other. And in 2004, I was in medical school in New Orleans. I was getting ready to graduate, and my father had passed away, and my wish was about not having that relationship with my father that I would want. And when he passed away, it was really devastating to me, but I knew the cast of Growing Pains was coming soon to film a reunion movie. And they filmed it less than 2 miles from my apartment in New Orleans, and that's when Jeremy and I reconnected.
Wow.
Yeah. And another small coincidence that many people don't know is that we weren't even supposed to film in New Orleans. We were set to film 4 months later in Montreal. ABC, for whatever reason, wanted to put it on the air quicker. So instead of filming in the summer, we were filming in February. Can't film in Montreal in February, there's 8 feet of snow. Right. So we moved to New Orleans. I mean, it's just all these little things that fell directly into place that brought us back together.
Yes.
So Kim, I had failed first grade. I was tested for special education in kindergarten, but I began to do really, really well in school once I met Jeremy. And their last day of filming was medical school match day. It was the day that I found out that I was going to go work with my cardiologist during my residency. And one of my favorite memories of that time is us having lunch together. It was me, Jeremy, and Kirk. And my pediatric cardiologist, Dr. Vargo, called to tell me that he was going to be my academic advisor. And I'm just like, this is such an amazing day, because this all started, you know, so many years ago with my wish that I began doing well in school. And it was just like God was just wrapping it up and putting a bow on it and just saying, I did this.
Right, because you asked him,
Right.
if you love me, show me.
Show me.
And you were the first part of that story.
Yeah, it's, I mean,
We
it's-
never know, do we, the power of our words, just to, if we can just find the freedom just to say what's on our mind and believe that that is God putting that in our heart to speak. Wow, the way it can change lives. Tell me what meeting Brandon did for you.
I mean, at the time, it was just, it was an honor to have him want to come and meet me. But it gave me a friend. I mean, we connected immediately. That time we spent together, we bonded. I mean, we were friends, and that's why we kept in touch, why we wrote letters and stuff. It was nice to have a friend who was not of the industry,
Yes.
you know, who I could just chat with. Again, Brandon and I realized how many parallels there were in our life as we were talking that first day. You know, he expected to meet this, you know, celebrity kid who had it all, whose life was perfect and all
Right.
this other, and, you know, he found out I come from a broken home too, and they're just all these parallels that have always lined up between our lives. And we both kind of realized, doesn't matter, me being from Hollywood, him from small town in Louisiana, it's, you know, we were a lot more similar than we ever would have expected.
Absolutely. So the book, tell us about the book and how this happened.
So a few years ago, my hometown, Gina, Louisiana, gave me a key to the city. And they invited me to speak at a church and just kind of share what God had done in my life. And I asked Jeremy to fly to my hometown and share how God had worked in both of our lives through my wish. And it was really the first time that we had shared our story collectively like that. And from that, I got the idea that I really want to write this down and share it because it really is a unique story.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the beginning. I mean, we began talking about it very soon after. I mean, within the next day or something like that, after us having spoken at the church. And Brandon was like, "I think we got to do this. We got to make this happen. This is a story more people need to hear."
Well, there's so many elements to the story. Let's talk about some of those. What do you hear from people about? I mean, you know, it's not just about friendship. It's about abuse and addiction and broken homes and so many real life situations that we read about that really give us hope. What do you all see that's most effective? What have you are most proud of that this book does?
I think for me, one of the things is when I went to meet Jeremy, it was about me and my needs. And when Jeremy and I reconnected, it became obvious that he was struggling with alcoholism. And I was able to play a role because his mom asked me to in helping him find sobriety. And to me, that's just amazing. It's like how many wish kids meet their celebrity but then are able to give something back to them years later. And the way I look at it is Jeremy and I both gave each other hope for our future. Meeting him gave me hope for my future. And then when we reconnected in New Orleans, I was able to give him hope for his.
Exactly. It's honestly, it's those threads that are woven throughout the book that I love the most. And beyond, we hear all the time, you know, both of us, you know, thank you for sharing. Thank you for being so open and honest and sharing about the difficult parts. Because, you know, you honestly don't hear about that part enough in a lot of books. And my other favorite part is just that people, after reading all of the little coincidences that have happened, I mean, all throughout our relationship, throughout Brandon's life, whether I'm involved or not, everybody says, even the non-believers and the people struggling with their faith, everybody says, at some point, you got to stop calling it coincidence.
Yes. Yes.
Every single one of them. That's one of my favorite things to hear. Because even people who are struggling or non-believers can look at that and go, there is a bigger power at play there.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and that's one of my favorite things that we get to hear from people.
So do you think it opens their eyes to start looking around at their lives and going, well, wait a minute, maybe that didn't just happen. Maybe that really is God at work.
I hope it does. I hope it does. I hope it at least gets people looking, you know, because honestly, there are so many blessings around us every single day that we take for granted. You know, most people do take for granted on a daily basis. It's not hard to find God working in your life if you're looking for it.
Right. Absolutely.
You find what you look for, right? If you don't look, you don't find it.
Yeah. But what has this done with your friendship? How has that built your faith?
I think for me, it's like I know Jeremy is a God-given friend. He is someone that God put in my life for a purpose. And I think that's what makes our friendship so special. And for, my wish was granted in 1989. We have been friends 30 years now. We have lived life together. We have been there for our highest points and also our lowest points in life.
And it seems like no matter where we are in our lives, we're brought back together for those moments.
Yeah.
Just whether it's because we needed a pick-me-up or a lift or some hope, or whether it's we wanted to celebrate, something with a loved one, we always seem to be brought back together for those big moments.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've seen you all on so many interviews talking about your stories and how God has woven you together. I hear there might be a movie.
We're working on it.
Am I supposed to talk about
that?
Nope,
that's absolutely fine. We're in the early stage. I mean, very early. It's in development, as they say. We have a wonderful writer that we found who's working on our first draft of the screenplay adaptation of the book. So we are really excited, to see his first draft and to see where we go from there.
I think one of the cool stories about that is how it kind of came to be that we're at this point now that we're writing this film adaptation. Back in 2020 when I had COVID, I was watching some of my favorite TV programs, and I connected with an actor named Max Adler on just through the internet. And within 3 questions, I'm like, Max, what are you working on today? And he told me about a movie that he had done called Foster Boy. He co-produced that with Peter Samuelson. Peter Samuelson had founded Starlight. He is the reason I met Jeremy, and Max went on to narrate our audiobook for us. And he decided to stay on as helping us get a film adaptation.
And he was on?
He was on Glee. He was on, he's got a laundry list, but Blue Bloods and Glee and, I can't even remember all of them, but he's had big guest starring spots, and he had a regular reoccurring role on Glee as well. So, and just a fabulous, he brought so much to our audiobook. He did it more justice than any A-list actor out there could have possibly done. It was absolutely amazing. And to have him come on now to help in development and maybe help produce and get this off the ground is, again, just one of these wonderful connections that just God keeps placing in front of us.
Yeah, I love the whole story, but there's so many, like I said before, there's so many themes that are so important here. But I go back to, we never know how God is going to use us, and I think about you, Brandon, really wanting to see Jeremy almost feeling invisible. Jeremy, that could have really saved your life, having someone notice you like that, don't you think, because of the addictions and the things that you were in?
It absolutely, having somebody that maybe helped my self-worth.
Yes.
Because through many, many issues, the abuse and things that were kind of at the root of my addiction and all those had left me with very little self-worth and self-esteem.
Yeah.
So having somebody that cared for me and wanted to be there to see me and, I don't know, kind of make me the priority, it did provide me with a little bit of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, where are we going from here? What are your plans? What do you want to see done with this?
Well, we're hoping that we can bring the movie to fruition. We'll say this now, with any film, especially when you have a book that is as full of details and experiences as this is, you're going to have to condense an awful lot. So there is some artistic liberty being taken. It will not be a 100% factual biography film, because characters will need to be combined. Occurrences and events may have to be combined or struck, because you can't hit every single moment in that book.
No.
In a 90-minute film, it just can't be done. So it will be based on. Brandon and I have said that we think a good tagline is, based on a true friendship. Yeah. Would be our, tagline for the film beforehand.
Right.
And that's one of the things that was so great about writing the book, is we really had the liberty to go into all of the details and share it, and minute details and all the people that were involved in it. And unfortunately, the film aspect of that, we're not able to do that. But I'm glad that we have the book and all of it, put down the way that it actually occurred.
Yeah, everybody gets their due in that, and the book is it is factually. It went through lawyers, it went through every person who was mentioned in there got to read and look and contribute, and to a degree. So it's as absolutely factual as it could be, and it pays respect to all the right people, in reality. Yeah. Whereas maybe we might not be able to show them the same honor in the film.
Right, right. Well, one of the themes that's throughout the book too is forgiveness. There's a lot of forgiveness that has to be done.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's, forgiveness is a key component of recovery. Mm-hmm. It always has been, and it's forgiving yourself, it's forgiving those who've hurt you, it's forgiving, it's a huge part of it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, it's something that I was always able to forgive others. Forgiving myself was the hard part.
Right. And I think that is something that is paralyzing us today, is that we can forgive others, but it's really hard for us to forgive ourselves. And so, and many of the things weren't even our fault, that we're still holding against ourselves. Yeah. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, I think I want to end on that note, is, how this book affected you individually, together, and especially on this thing about forgiveness and accepting yourselves as you are, because I think that's something that I want our audience to hear, is that, we say things to ourselves that we'd never say to anyone else, right? We hold things against ourselves. So one of the reasons I do this show is so that we can put before people examples of what it looks like to forgive yourself, what it looks like to be able to live free, as Jesus tells us to do. Live as free people, he says. So we're going to come back and talk about, if there's someone out here and they are bound and they feel alone, what is something that you could say to them that maybe could set them free, to explore a friendship, to go out there and go, maybe it is time for me to really talk to someone else, make someone else visible, make myself visible in this world. So we'll be right back and we'll talk about that, okay?
Awesome.
All right, we'll be right back.
The most amazing gift one could ever receive is knowing how deeply we are loved by God. Yet it's the very thing we sometimes struggle with and fail to comprehend. To learn more, Kim Crable will send you this devotional treasure titled Cherished. These pages contain a daily dose of His infinite love for you. The 365 daily readings will help you take your eyes off the day's demands and focus on the God who loves you more than you can ever imagine. God will show us all how active and personal He can be in life as He brings this courage to our lives. We will all discover the joy of recognizing and responding to daily opportunities to encourage and uplift others. To get a copy rushed to you right away, simply go to Amazon.com or directly to Kim's website at www.kimcrable.org.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee. Our time always goes by so quickly, especially when we have such an incredible story that hits on something that really is tension in our world today. Loneliness, not fulfilling our lives because we were holding ourselves back because of unforgiveness. And I'd like to end there. I think there are a lot of people out there that look at you and they feel lonesome. They'd love to have the friendship that you have. They'd love to have the level of vulnerability that you have to be able to talk about, the things that you don't just talk to everyone about, the addictions, the hurts, the pains. So let's just imagine, and it doesn't take much to imagine, but they're out there. What would you say to them if you had just a minute to speak to them about their hurt, their pain, their loneliness, not forgiving themselves?
I definitely think you have to kind of forgive yourself. And one of the things that was going on when Jeremy and I reconnected was with my father's death. I was just torn up inside about not having the relationship with him that I wanted. I was busy with med school. It's like, did I do everything that I could? And it took me a long time to get to that point where I felt like I've forgiven myself and I did the best that I could with the relationship that we had. And
That's really good, Brandon, because there's so many people who are the failed relationships that maybe time has intervened and you can't go back. So that's huge. That's a big one. Jeremy?
Honestly, I would say, I mean, as Brandon said, the most important part is being able to get to the point where you can forgive yourself.
Yeah.
But having somebody who understands you and hopefully has a similar background where they can understand what you've been through,
Yes.
those are the people you want in your life.
Yes.
And you're rarely going to find them if you don't reach out and try to find them.
Yes.
And when you do, you need to try and hold on to them. You need to nurture that relationship. You got to reach out and you gotta nurture a friendship. And you got to be honest. And that's, in today's day and age, so many people have trouble being honest with themselves, much less other people.
Yes.
So, you know, if you want a friendship with this kind of closeness and everything else, you got to be honest with each other. And that starts with being honest with yourself.
Absolutely.
And that's actually one of the things I really got out of the book and the process, was hearing the truth of my experiences through other people's eyes that I had never heard.
Well, and your truth becomes something that really does set you free with God's truth. And I fully believe, according to Genesis 50:20, where those things that have come into our lives to hurt us or to harm us, given to God, He can transform those into things that yeah, right, to give us hope. And then it goes on to say, for the saving of many. And you know, I think that your stories are going to help others in the saving of the losing themselves to the unforgiveness, losing themselves to life. And maybe they'll look around and be able to go, gosh, God is trying to reach me in all these different ways, and I just thought it was life happening. So I hope that that you, as our audience, as our friend, I hope that you'll really lean into what Brandon and Jeremy have said and begin to wonder, is it God, you know, coming to rescue like you talked about? Is it Him trying to show you how much He loves you? You know, that is the God that we serve. He's always out there drawing us unto Himself. Come to me, He says, you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. And here's the other thing, too, that I want you to know. Friendship will unlock in you something that you have no idea that's in you, right? Friendship will unlock something in you. So I just encourage each and every one of you, you don't have to tell everybody, but find somebody to talk to today and really begin to build that friendship. Make a wish upon a star. Thank you all so much for being here today. And if anyone would like to reach out to you, where would they find you?
It's easiest to find me on Facebook or Instagram.
Okay.
It's Mr. Jeremy James Miller on Facebook and just The Real Jeremy Miller on Instagram.
Okay.
I don't really.
And what we'll do is we'll put that along the the bottom so that they can reach out, and of course they can get the books at Amazon and anywhere that they want to do that. So, friends, grab this book. You will be inspired. You'll start seeing God everywhere you go, which is really what we want to do. So thank you so much for joining us right here on Coffee. Thank you all for joining us. We'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye, everybody.